What's going on, everyone? It's Dungeon here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 5 favorite faith weapons. So if you're tired of praying your weapon is going to be useful, you've come to the right place. Let's get right into it. Alright, you guys, so of course before we get to my favorite faith weapons list, I'm going to talk about a couple honorable mentions real briefly. Just by name, I'm going to mention a couple weapons that, there's something to look at. I mean, I typically don't play a whole lot with them in a lot of cases, or it might be a weapon that maybe I've already featured somewhere else. So, a couple ones are the Morn's Great Hammer. This one you get from the NPC Morn. Pretty fun weapon, especially if you like strength weapons and you like playing paladin types. Check that one out. Dragonslayer's Great Axe. Some pretty interesting weapon arts for both the Morn's Great Hammer and the Dragonslayer's Great Axe. The Dragonslayer's Spear. And that one is pretty cool too. Nice weapon art on that one. And some people even say the Dragonslayer's Sword Spear, but I don't know about that one. I don't know. And then other ones that are actually really good are, obviously the mace is what I'm playing with right now in the background, and the battle axe, the broadsword, the falchion. These are all good choices. Not necessarily because of anything other than they're high base damage and they work well with pretty much any kind of infusion. So if you're going to use like blast or lightning in particular, then they'll work out really well, and they have nice movesets and stuff like that. So those are weapons to check out. They're honorable mentions. Alright, so the number 5 weapon on this list is a Saint Bident. And this weapon in particular, I gotta put it out there real quick first. Do not infuse this thing with a blessed gem. It naturally has faith scaling, and you would think that because of that, if you put a blessed gem in there, then the faith scaling would be like better or whatever. But it's actually worse. It doesn't really make any sense. You might as well just put a blessed gem in some other spear, actually. So that being said, don't do that. But if you put a elemental, any kind of elemental gem in this thing, it's actually going to do a lot of damage if you're a faith build. So like if you're using a dark gem or a chaos gem, or of course a lightning gem, these things are going to really do a lot. Even if you put a crystal gem in this thing, because it has that faith scaling already and you have a high faith, then even though you might not have a very high intelligence, this thing is going to actually do some work for you. So this is a really good elementally infused type weapon. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, it has a spear moveset, which it's similar to Pike's, but it has spear movesets. So the weight is similar to Pike's, but it actually has a faster moveset, in the terms of the class of spears instead of pikes. But the reach is like the reach of pikes. And in fact, the reach is, I think, a little bit longer than the pike, which is a super long spear. So because of that, this weapon has really a lot going for it as far as faith build. So if you're thinking about a faith build and you want to use like a spear and shield type of thing, you want to pick this thing up for sure. Absolutely for sure. I mean, this thing is cool. So check this weapon out, and let's move on to the next one. Alright, you guys, so the next one I have is a Dragonslayer Axe, and this thing is so cool. You get it in the Ethereal Boreal Valley from fighting, I think his name is Creighton of Mira, which is, I think he's in Dark Souls 2 as well. He's got that thing with Pate. But you end up killing him in the graveyard area or whatever, and you can pick this thing up. It has a super cool moveset. As far as axes go, the reach feels just right. And more than that, it comes with lightning damage already on this thing. So this is one of 2 weapons pretty much in the game that works really well blessed. So you'll get the regeneration, you'll get the buff against animated creatures, And it, it already does lightning damage. So super cool when you bless this thing. You could also put a lightning gem in it. It'll do more lightning damage. It really performs with that. And you could put a sharp gem in here too. It'll do a lot of physical damage and it'll still do that lightning damage. So if you buff it with like, lightning weapon or something else, a resin, then it'll do a lot of lightning damage. So a lot of options for this thing. A nice, quick, and heavy poise type of move set. Check this thing out. I mean, this really is a fantastic weapon. So check it out. All right, guys. Alright, you guys, so the next weapon is the Astora Greatsword. And let me tell you, if you haven't been playing this game with this weapon at all, then you've missed out. Because this is an early game weapon that is just OP. Like, it is. It has the weight of a Greatsword, but the moveset and poise of an Ultra Greatsword. This thing is just unbelievable. And the DPS in this thing is just unmatched almost. I mean, you can put any elemental gem in this thing and it'll like really perform. You can put a sharp gem in this thing and it will outperform many other weapons with a dex-based build. You get it, like I said, you get it early game and right outside the Cathedral of the Deep. I mean, this thing is just too good. It is just too good. So if you haven't played with it, stop right now whatever you're doing and play with this weapon. Alright, guys, check it out. Alright, you guys, so for the next weapon I have is the Lothric Knight Greatsword, and this one is a monster. This is one of the 2 weapons in the game that actually perform really well with a blessed gem inside it. And in particular, this weapon does more damage with a blessed gem. You heard me right, more damage with a blessed gem inside infused. So this thing, it does a lot of damage too. I mean, you can seriously make a regenerator build with this thing because it works so well with the blessed gem, and it does tons and tons of damage. It's got Ultra Greatsword moveset. It does have the weight of an Ultra Greatsword, and even requirements that are pretty high, 24 strength and 16 dex. But all that aside, this thing is a monster. Check it out. You can get it from Grey Rat after the second thieving outing, or you can get it from a drop from one of the Lothric Knights that are wielding it. So you could potentially get it early game if you defeat the Dancer early, but otherwise you'll kind of have to wait till about mid game. Alright, check this weapon out. Alright, you guys, so the last weapon I have on this, if you've guessed it was a Sunlight Straight Sword, then you are correct. Ding, 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 you're the winner. Because of a bunch of things. The DPS on this is so fantastic, especially if you're riding strength, dex, and faith all together. It does a lot of damage, and it has this super cool buff that you can put onto it that not only will buff your weapon, but it'll actually buff like all of your allies too. So if you're doing some PVE or PvP with some co-op stuff going on, very cool. Help out everyone around you. Does more damage. It's got the faith scaling. The only downside I would say is that you have to use Twinkling Titanite to upgrade this weapon, which is different than most of the other weapons on the list. And yeah, you technically can get this thing pretty early. You just have to beat the Dancer. But otherwise, you'll get this late game in Lothric Castle. And yeah, if you've never played this with this thing, then check this one out. Just like all the weapons on my list here. Alright, you guys, that concludes this episode of Dark Souls 3 Tips, where I shared with you my top 5 favorite faith weapons. So, if you had fun, if you learned something, if you enjoyed watching this, hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon so you don't miss another video, and as always, thanks, stay cool, and bye everyone.